Anna Marquardt, and today I will be doing my Speaker's Choice speech. In the audience, I have my mom, sister, girlfriend, sister's boyfriend, brother, and dad. I love going to school for 7 hours every day, said no child ever. According to Walden doctoral programs, children, specifically in the United States, spend 6.64 hours on average each day in school for 180 days per year. Even with this time, students' test scores are far behind scores developed in other nations. This brings us to a very serious question. Is spending 6+ hours 5 days a week only going through a structured learning curriculum truly beneficial to students, or just a waste of time? There are many positives in shortening the amount of hours each day children spend behind school desks. More importantly, the shortening of overall school hours is not only beneficial to students, but parents and school staff members as well. It's no question that school can be exhausting. Most children can easily be overstimulated and overworked due to long hours in school and due to extracurricular activities. According to Kyra Motika, a student teacher and lifestyle editor, she argues that, quote, students are constantly overwhelmed by school and all things that come with it. By the time Friday rolls around, students are exhausted, end quote. Of course, education is crucial within a child's life, but the quality of their education matters so much more compared to the quantity they spend behind desks. Kyra also speaks how exhausting it is to not see her boyfriend, sit down for dinner with her family, or even have personal time for herself at the end of most days. Quote, with maturity comes logic, and logic says that going to school and not being taught something new every day is pointless and exhausting, end quote. She also makes a valuable point about how a student can sit in a classroom every single day and still fall behind other students taking the same class or students that aren't in school for the same amount of time. Moving forward, studies show that the top-ranked school in Finland has roughly 5-hour school days that include break time and lunch. With that comes new research from Matthew Kraft and Sarah Novikov regarding how America uses its school hours. Researchers dived deep within a study of a Providence public school district and found that behavior issues, transition between parts of a lesson, student absence, outside distraction, and teacher absence all cause big learning time lost. The researchers found a total of 258 hours of instructional time lost in a year. More importantly, this study of 258 hours did not in fact include all of the hours that are not instructional time used in school. That is absolutely crazy. And I can speak on behalf of that because in school, we are not always learning as students rather than sitting around doing nothing, messing around, waiting for the grass to grow. We're not always learning. Spending less time in school can also help with responsibility skills. According to the Rand Corporation's research, quote, when students spend less time in school because they are on a shorter week schedule, they have more free time outside of school, causing them to spend extra time on a variety of activities such as household chores and studying, end quote. Our American school system has flaws. Why are other countries thriving when it comes to education? It's because they enforce heavy learning within less hours per day. Not only this, but they also encourage students to choose classes based on what those kids want to do in the future. Everyone knows you need certain required classes to complete school. But once you have entered high school, students should be able to choose classes based on the job force that they want to do in the future. In fact, France allows students to choose classes based on what they strive to do in the future at age 15. Another example includes Italy. At just the ages of 13 and 14, Italian school students begin to choose classes that align with their future career aspirations. By keeping kids in school for so long each day of the week, it not only affects the mental health of a child, but it also affects the facility the children are going to. According to Walden doctoral programs, quote, keeping kids in school longer requires a lot of additional expenditures, including teacher salaries and facility upkeep, end quote. The existing research also shares the impacts on the schedule on cost savings, student behavior, and attendance. Quote, cost savings, despite being a primary motivation for adopting the schedule in many districts, are only about 2% on average, end quote. These savings equivalent to about $57,000 per district. Others acknowledge that they continue to use shorter schedules for other reasons beyond just cost savings. Seeing as we've talked about students, parents, and school facilities, this leaves teachers. Most teachers viewed less hours in school as a quote-unquote job perk and thought it gave them more of a competitive advantage when it came to teacher recruitment. Teachers, school principals, parents, and students all stated that they truly believed the kids learned just as much in the less time that they spent in school versus kids who go to school full-time 5 days a week. And that the instructional time difference did not affect the students' learning or test scores negatively. Overall, by providing more time for teachers to plan lessons, go to meetings, and prepare for school, they will also be less overwhelmed and tired after long days. This then causes more positive effects in the classroom. If your teacher is happy, then students are more likely to feed off of that positive energy and want to learn rather than dread going to school. In conclusion, the shortening of school days will not only benefit students, but also staff, parents, and schools as a whole. Being in school for 7 hours, 5 days a week is absolutely exhausting. It takes a toll on students' emotional health, and this then affects their work ethic. On top of this, facilities are spending way too much money on expenses regarding the intensive time students spend in school. Furthermore, because parents and children are in school for so long, that leaves very little time for them to spend together. This puts strain on relationships and the building of stability for students. The hope that school learning environments improve to better the minds of children and their learning lines is an ongoing process that is a struggle to ever come to a conclusion about. Within school systems, children are impaired due to the length of learning. Days about what administrators and guardians Within school systems, children are impaired due to the length of learning. But what administrators and guardians need to realize is that the overall goal is for the children to grow and develop in healthy ways, not force them to sit because of a designated time frame. The time spent behind desks does not matter as long as the students learn the material. My visual is I made a survey for my classmates to take and answer about how hard is it to schedule appointments with extracurricular activities and being in school for so long, how it emotionally affects them. And at Oregon High School, we adopted a new schedule after COVID where you're allowed to we go to school on Wednesdays for one less hour, so we get out at 2 instead of 3. And so I asked students about how that affected them emotionally and academically. And so